What's up guys, TopTierYugioh here. I'm going to show you guys a quick Burning Abyss deck profile of what I've been using the past couple weeks. So first we have 3 Skarm. Skarm is really good because it searches all your Burning Abyss monsters in Tour Guide, sets you up for all your future turns, and is definitely necessary to play at 3. It's one of the main cards you want to get going as soon as possible. Next we play 2 Seer. Seer is good for reviving all of your Burning Abyss monsters once into the graveyard. You can get back Dante's, Virgil's, pretty much anything you need at a certain time. Graph, once into the graveyard, special summon a monster from your deck. Again, really useful for pretty much getting whatever you need, whenever you need it. It's limited, so you can only play one, so that's why we do play that one. One Libic, really good for summoning monsters when you have non-Burning Abyss monsters on the field. So sometimes I might send Libic with Beatrice to special summon something else out of my hand. So sometimes that comes up every now and then. So you still play at 1 for that random time when it does. And it's also another name. 3 Farfa, the most important utility monster, really good for clearing monsters off the board. It's really good against Xyz monsters because you can just send it from Beatrice and then it will banish the Xyz monster, meaning it loses the material. So it pretty much renders all Xyz monsters useless. It's really good for when your opponent's about to Xyz summon or synchro. You can just like banish the tuner. You can get rid of pretty much anything you need to at a certain time. I mean, there's so many things you can do with Farfa. It's so versatile. 2 Alec. I see a lot of people only playing 1, but I'm really worried about Monarchs, and Alec's probably the best utility monster against Monarchs because when they summon Edia, you can send it from Beatrice and then you can negate the Eidos. And then also, if you have Alec under your Beatrice and they Stormforth it, then it can negate the Monarch that they summon. So that's another pretty cool interaction. It's also really good against Flying Sea. So Alec has a lot of uses against a lot of decks, but especially Monarchs, and that's why I play 2 of them. 2 Cowcab. It's another card that people usually only play 1 of, but I play 2 because sometimes I like to send Cowcab in my opponent's in phase to bounce something, and then I'll send another one during my turn, so I can get rid of 2 back row. So that's really useful. 2 Barbar, because I like to burn. It's again another name. It's usually not awesome early game, but mid to late game it can put in a lot of work, especially having that second Barbar. 1 Rubik for summoning Virgil. 3 Fiendish Rhino Warrior because it can be any of the other BA monsters, and also it keeps them from blowing themselves up, which is really useful. The only thing bad about it is that it's a normal summon. That's the only thing I really don't like about it. So opening multiples isn't that good, but whenever you just get 1, you're in a pretty good position to win from there. 1 Tour Guide from the Underworld. We all know what that does. 3 Speedroid Terratop, 1 Taketomborg. I mean, the Speedroid engine is just like Tour Guide, where it gets you a 1-card Dante, but unlike Tour Guide, it doesn't require a normal summon, so that's really good. And then also, Speedroid Terratop isn't that bad if you already have drawn Taketomborg or if you already used it, but you can still just special summon it from your hand, and so it's not the end of the world if you do draw it or draw multiples. 3 Max C because Burning Abyss and PK Fire are everywhere, and then new Cosmos, but Fire King Island special summon a lot, so Max is going to be good against them too. Same with Valor, where it's going to be pretty good against Cosmos next format, and also it's good against Monarchs. So once again, Monarchs is a major concern for this deck, and so I got to main deck a few outs to them. So now we play the Kaijus, outs Monarchs, which is, like I said, probably the biggest problem for this deck, but it also outs Cosmos as well. And so the reason I play these 3 Kaiju specifically is I play 1 Godarla because it's got 2700 attack. So what I can do is I can ram Beatrice into it, get Pilgrim Dante, and then run over this with Pilgrim Dante, and then Dante Pilgrim is just so hard for a lot of decks to get over. So it's really good for situations like that. It's also the best Kaiju to special summon to my side of the field should I need to. If I give my opponent Kaiju, I can summon it and then run over their Kaiju. So that happens sometimes. Gamesio and then the Sticky String Kaiju, they both have lower attack than Dante and Beatrice, so I can summon it to the opponent's side of the field and just run over it. So they're good for that. The reason I play 3 different ones versus 2 Gamesio and then 1 Godarla is that if I do draw a Slumber, playing 3 different Kaijus gives me a higher probability of being able to resolve the Slumber should I need to. Although it's not the best to play from hand, if I have to, I'd like to be able to. 2 Slumber. Most people only play 1, but I play 2 because I do like having that Slumber search. So ideally I'll send it pretty early in the game and then send the other one before I can draw. So that's pretty good. 3 Twin Twister because not only does it clear back row, but it can also activate your BA monster's effects, so there's no reason not to play 3. 1 Foolish Burial because like Rhino Warrior, it pretty much acts as any of your other monsters. And then finally 1 Soul Charge because it's a blowout. So Soul Charge is really powerful late game when you can just like bring back all your Dantes and stuff, make F-Zeros. I mean, it's also really good early game for helping you go into double Dante or multiple Beatrices, so it's really good for that. The extra deck's pretty standard, but let's take a look at it. So let's get into the extra deck. First we play 3 Dante, 3 Beatrice because it's the best card in the deck, probably the best card of the format. It allows you to trigger all of your Burning Abyss monsters from your deck without having to draw them or mill them randomly. And also it's really good for disrupting your opponent, and it floats into such powerful monsters such as Pilgrim Dante and Virgil. So Beatrice is a staple at 3 for sure. Then next we play 2 Pilgrims. Pilgrim is really good in the mirror match. It's hard for them to get off the board, especially because a lot of people don't expect it. Most decks will try to play around Beatrice not destroying it, but then if they can't avoid not destroying Beatrice, they usually can't deal with Pilgrim too. 1 Virgil. Virgil's really good for just spinning things back to the deck. It's good in a mirror match for getting rid of Beatrice, getting rid of Kozmo Town, things like that. Virgil comes up a lot. Next we play 3 random Xyz monsters that are there for just in case. So we play 1 Acid Golem, 1 Nightmare Shark, 1 Grampulse. I don't think I've ever summoned the Acid Golem. Shark comes up every now and then. I think I've summoned it maybe once or twice. And then Grampulse comes up fairly frequently. Grampulse is probably what I summoned the most out of those 3. Then 2 F-Zero, really good for getting over Kozmo, opposing monsters that you don't want to destroy. And when I say get over, I don't mean like destroying them, but it helps you play around them. So it's really hard to get taken off the board because it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. You don't take battle damage. But then you can attack your opponent's monsters, take control of them, and then attack them directly with it, or attack their other monsters with it. So it's really good. And then finally 1 Gaia Dragon, a Thunder Charger, because I do side emergency controller. Not emergency controller, but enemy controller. And so that means I can take my opponent's Dantes and make Beatrice. I can take their Beatrice, make Gaia Dragon. Against Xyz Monarchs, I can take any of their Xyz monsters, make Gaia Dragon. Really useful. Then for the side deck, we play 1 Gameciel, 1 Veiler, 3 Mask of Restrict, 2 Emergency Controller, Enemy Controller, 3 Flying Seas, 2 Mischief of the Gnomes, and 3 System Down. As for what I side in and out, against Xyz Monarchs, I usually side out 3 Twin Twisters, 1 Cowcap, and 1 Barbar. That's because they don't really play too many trap cards that I need to worry about, so I don't need Twin Twisters or Cowcap. And then Barbar, it's more of a, when you play against Xyz Monarchs, it's more of a grind game, so I don't expect to be burning them for game too often. I still have the 1 Barbar just in case. And it's mostly just to make space for the 1 Veiler, 2 Mask of Restricts, 2 Enemy Controllers. If I happen to go first, I'll side out an extra Slumber and side in the 3rd Mask of Restrict, but then if I'm going second, I won't side in the 2nd Mask of Restrict, and instead I might side in a Gameciel, depending on, how I'm feeling. And the reason for that is I don't want to draw too many traps if I'm going second. Like if I draw a Mask Restrict going second, it's not going to do me any good after they've gotten their anything going. And then also Xyz Monarchs don't necessarily lose to Mask Restrict like Domain Monarchs do. Against the Domain Monarchs, I side out 3 Max C, 1 Cowcap, and I'll side in Veiler and 3 Mask Restrict. The reason behind this is that they don't necessarily special summon too much outside of Edia and Eidos, so at most I'm going to get like a +1. At most. That's if they use Eidos from the graveyard to summon Edia and then Edia summons another Eidos, but how often does that happen? And if that does happen, I'm probably going to lose anyways. So there's no point in, playing Maxi for that. And also they don't play that many traps, so I don't need Cowcap as often. Veiler and Mask Restricted just to stop their plays. If I go second, I'll side out the Soul Charge and then side in 1 extra Gameciel. And the reason for that is that Soul Charge isn't necessarily good going second in the early game, and then also on top of that, it doesn't help me out Domain. So Domain is really the only problem against Domain Monarchs. You have to be able to out Domain. And Gameciel is another answer to that, where Soul Charge is another card that would lose to it. Against Burning Abyss, I'll side out 3 Twin Twisters, 1 Slumber, 2 Veiler, 1 Cowcap. I side out the Twin Twisters and Cowcap because I don't expect them to be playing too many traps. And then the 2 Veilers are just useless against Burning Abyss. And Slumber, I take that out because I don't necessarily want to resolve that against Burning Abyss. All their monsters float anyway, so it doesn't do anything. Then what I'll side in is 2 Econs, 2 Mischief of the Gnomes, 2 Flying Sea, and Gameciel. Then if I'm going second, I won't side in the 2nd Gnomes, and I'll side in the 3rd Flying Sea. The reason behind that is I don't want to draw more trap cards going second, because again, trap cards are only good going first. You can set them up before your opponent goes off. But if I draw it going second, it won't do me any good against their established board. Versus Flying Sea, if that's in my first 5 cards, then I can do something to stop my opponent turn 1, versus Gnomes not being able to do that turn 1. And then against Cosmos, I just side out 2 Veilers, 1 Farfa, 1 Alec, because none of those do anything against Cosmo. And then I side in 3 System Downs and 1 Gameciel. So that's my siding strategy. And sometimes it is variable, and especially against rogue decks. That's not all there is to it, but that's just sort of the general framework that I've been doing. But once again, if you're looking for any more tips to how to play Burning Abyss, definitely check out my guide, as I've got a lot of stuff there. Any questions, comments, any tips, any way you think I can change this deck for the better, let me know. And thanks guys for watching.